Hi, welcome to Stories of Art. My name is Carel Huydecoper. Today I'd like to tell you the story of Danae. It's a story from Greek mythology, and I'm going to tell you this story and show you how it was painted throughout the Renaissance and end up with my favorite version, which is one by Rembrandt. But before I start, this would be an excellent moment to hit that subscribe button below this video, because if you do that, you will be able to find all my other videos, and if you even hit that little bell next to it that appears when you press it, then you will be notified anytime I post a new video. So, to the story. There once was a king of Argos, and he didn't have any sons, and he went to the oracle in Delphi to ask if he was ever going to have one. Now, in Greek mythology, these oracles appear all the time, and if you ever wish to consult an oracle, don't, because you know from Greek mythology these things always end badly. So it was in this case, because he asked the oracle if he would ever have a son, and the oracle said no, but his daughter would have a son, and that son would kill him. So he would be killed by his grandson. So he did what any sane king would do of his time. He locked his daughter up in a bronze tower. It's sometimes described as a bronze tower, sometimes it's a bronze room in a cellar, but for some reason bronze is involved. And there he locked his daughter, Danae, in this dark room, because it had no windows, maybe a skylight. But it was dark so that nobody would ever see her. Basically, he locked her up in a sort of a tomb. Not a very nice man, I know. But Danae just happened to be the most beautiful woman in all of history. So beautiful that even though she was locked up in the dark and put away somewhere and no one could find her, Zeus did find her and immediately fell in love. Now, at this point, descriptions vary. Sometimes they say he raped her, others say he seduced her. Anyway, he appeared to her in the shape of a shower of gold, and that impregnated her. Something we don't warn our children about enough, I suppose. But here you can see how the ancient Greek would depict that scene. It's on a red-figured crater that's made somewhere in the 5th century BCE. You can see quite a voluptuous Danae who is showered with these pieces of gold that drop down, and they impregnate her. The thing is that she did get a child. It was a son, and her father then was very nervous about it because he knew that his grandson would kill him. So he locked them both up in a big chest, and he chucked them off into the sea. This is where Zeus stepped in, and he picked them up from the sea, or made them wash up on a different shore, and there the little boy grew up and became Perseus. And indeed, at some point he would, I think he threw a discus so far that it flew out of the playing field and hit an old man that happened to walk by, and of course that man was his grandfather, so he died. Because these oracle stories, of course, always come true. But back to Danae, these stories in mythology, these stories were always admired. They were read throughout the Middle Ages. But they had some trouble with that, because they said, how can these ancient people have written all these beautiful stories, have made all this beautiful art, when God hadn't spoken to them? Because of course by that time people were mostly Christians. And in monasteries throughout Europe, they started reading the most common version of the tales of mythology, which was written by Ovid. And they started to read into that messages from the Christian God, because they argued that, of course, God spoke to the ancient Greeks, they just didn't understand him. And so what they started doing is transforming Ovid into what's called Ovide Moralisé in French. That's an Ovid with Christian morality attached to it. And the story of Danae became a story where she was infused with heavenly light. She was enlightened in a spiritual sense. And that is why there's also often in paintings of Danae, of the modern age, of the pre-modern age, of the Renaissance, of the 15th, 16th, 17th century, it's not just Danae you find in this room. She is helped by an assistant. There's a lady there. For instance, this version by Titian, made in the 1560s, in it you can see Danae, you can see she's showered with pieces of gold, but there's also this other lady, usually an older lady, and what she does is she tries to catch the gold, because she thinks this is a good way to get rich. And that comes from the moralizing versions of the Danae story that sort of evolved in the Middle Ages. What they said is Danae understood that she was meeting God. And she's set aside from her servant, who is dumb in this case, and she's only greedy for worldly matters. And of course the divine is the important part and worldly matters are not. But that's why that lady is there. That comes from a medieval sort of tradition. And if you look around in Danae pictures, you see her all the time. This is a version by probably Artemisia Gentileschi. Could be by her father, we're not entirely sure, but Artemisia is the more famous one of the two. And here you can see her clearly in ecstasy. She's really enjoying this golden shower. And her servant, again, trying to catch the pieces of gold to enrich herself in a greedy sort of sense. Another version. Here's slightly more difficult to find the old lady, but you can see Danae lying on a bed. She's not really in a cell or a basement room or locked off in a tower. She's in a more like in a palace. And we see Jupiter, Zeus, coming in, and just below him you can see her servant trying to catch the gold. And that brings me to my favorite painting of this story, which is by Rembrandt. Rembrandt didn't like to paint things he thought didn't exist. So he found ways of doing it that were more realistic in his mind. And that is what you see in this picture. We see Danae on a bed, but there's no shower of gold. Instead, there's golden light. But that, of course, could just be any old lady in a bed, any nude lady in a bed who has been, well lit for the scene. It doesn't show us that it's Danae. But that's why there's, of course, her servant standing in the back, who's looking very, very disappointed that there's no actual gold. He's actually commenting on the fact that there's no gold with this servant who is disappointed. We can also see that it's a love and a forbidden love because Cupid is there. And we can see Cupid as a sort of statuette above Danae, crying with tied hands because it's a forbidden form of love. You know that this painting is in the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. It was actually attacked once by someone who threw acid at it. But it has been beautifully restored and you can still see it there. Anyway, that's what I'm going to tell you today. But before you go, remember you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you like this story, please give me a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.